Hi, everybody. I'm Lee Carroll, but you knew that already because you're on my Facebook. Let's face it. Oh, is that a joke? Anyway, I wanted to say thank you for watching this. This is one of the few Facebook Lives I do. I do maybe one a month or so. This is an important one. It may be a little longer than normal, and it's more of an opinion. But more than opinion, it's also the opinion of and the instructions from Kryon. And the subject is the news. Kryon has said very, very succinctly, and I have too, don't watch the news. And I want to give you the reasons why this is being said from my standpoint, and also the fact that it's been given by Kryon, I think, gives me permission to talk about it. And I know it's controversial, but I'm going to go slow and let you know what this means. Many have said, well, if we don't watch the news, we're not going to be informed citizens. I want you to think about this. Kryon said, don't watch the news. He didn't say, don't have the news. Stay tuned, because this is going to be fully explained. My background, before I ever got to Kryon, was in media. I was in graphics, I was in broadcast. I wasn't in front of the camera, I was behind it as a tech. So I had, basically 20 years growing up, and I had about 20 in that business, and then we have about 30 in this business. Don't count them up, okay? Just don't do it. But I've come from this, and I know what pictures and music are designed to do. I learned about the power of visuals and music. I'm going to give you a statement. Humans tend to cognize and personalize, take it to themselves, what we see and view on a screen, whether it's TV or big. It tells a story, and we're glued to it. It affects us a lot more than if we simply are reading. This is why commercials work. And the classic example, truly, is movies. I want to tell you just a little bit about something that it's so remarkable to even think about it, and I was sucked into this too. Movies rewrite history, and it's really hard to undo. I want to give you, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to read these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to read 6 movies that I just loved. Now, it'll tell you a lot about me because I like these kind of movies, and they're historic movies about not just history, but about people. And they're involving some really good actors, and I liked them all. I'm going to give you the names of them. The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. The Patriot with Mel Gibson. Braveheart with Mel Gibson. So heartfelt. This is about history, about people that actually existed. Gladiator with Russell Crowe. Now, that wasn't necessarily about a real person, but it was about a place in history that we're all knowing. Argo, Ben Affleck. That was about the Iran issues that happened, real stories. Pearl Harbor with Ben Affleck. Now, I just gave you all of these 6 movies, and you might say, well, they're about history that happened and people that worked and did their thing and scenarios. They really did. Yep, they did. And they got it all wrong. Completely. Timelines are wrong. Facts are wrong. People that didn't do what they did or said what they said. And yet I viewed them all as being accurate and true. And that's what I take away with me. Is, if you try to tell me about something as profound as Pearl Harbor, I remember the Pearl Harbor film. I don't remember the history book as much. And they got it wrong. Now, if you say, what do you mean they got it wrong, Lee? I will give you a reference. I often don't do this, but I'm going to do it this way. There was a man named Jack Delaney who has... he's from Twitter, I think, and he has a webpage that says the 15 most historically inaccurate movies ever. So you can see these and what they did with them and what I'm talking about by going to, ready? Kryon.com/bad history. That's going to give you right to this article. That's all lowercase, Kryon.com/bad history. Here's the point. There's no delete key in our brain. We can't see this movie, enjoy 2 hours worth of this, all this history, and then have a disclaimer at the end that says, we didn't mean it. I mean, it doesn't work. We tend to cognize, believe what we see. Now, I want to give you the reverse of this as far as bad history. I want to show you how movies sometimes actually inform and change history. Back in 1979, and if you weren't there yet, don't worry, I'll tell you about it. The China Syndrome, a very, very powerful movie. Jack Lemmon, Michael Douglas. Jack Lemmon, I think, got an Academy Award for it. It's a made-up story at the time about a nuclear reactor that was about something in the control room that was about to be covered up. And the China Syndrome name, you probably are aware, that's the name for a nuclear reactor going to melt down. All right, so that was presented to us in 1979 based on actually based on true occurrences, we find out, in control rooms in nuclear facilities. So they made a screenplay about it, and they presented it. Now, this was way before Chernobyl. This is way before Fukushima. But what happened is really fascinating. Within days of the release of the China Syndrome film, we had an issue at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. And what the result was, between the film and what happened in Pennsylvania, there wasn't one nuclear reactor built in the United States from 1977 to 2013. And they said, this is the power, truly, of the film. Now, Cryan tells us, can I just divert for a minute? Let's talk about nuclear power, because Cryan talks about it, not me, Cryan. He says there are far better ways to make electricity. And this statement is from Cryan. Many times he said, nuclear reactors are the most expensive and potentially dangerous steam engines on the planet. Did you know that nuclear reactors just make steam? That's all they do. I have a quote I want to read by a screenwriter. His name is Frank Deasy. Has to do with the power of video, stories, and drama. Here's his quote. I'm reading. As screenwriters, our work has the capacity to reach millions, if not billions, and sometimes what we do actually shifts public opinion, shapes the decision-making power of leaders, perpetuates destructive myths, yes, or unexpectedly enlightens the culture. That's the power of moving pictures on a screen. Bottom line, stories presented with drama and music create reactions, create belief, no matter whether they're true or not. The TV news media that we have in the United States is entertainment-based. It knows it, you know it, and it knows how all of this works. They're presenting fear-based news, even though it's often positive, in some way. I mean, honestly, it's truly fear-based. They're not showing the entire story. They're not talking, now, I want to make it clear. I'm not talking about politics. Forget politics. I'm just talking about the news of the day. Specifically, I would say almost anything that is, that we would be concerned with. A virus, for instance. That's a big one. I'm going to tell you about that here. This is not a conspiracy. They're not doing this as a conspiracy. They're doing this for money. This has to do with the agenda of keeping sponsors and ratings and income. They compete for your eyes. The more they're able to frighten you, the more you're going to watch. They've got you. I went to the dentist last week, and she made a statement, and I want to tell you what she said. She says, in these last 7 months, she said, since COVID-19, truly, that's a year, there has been a tremendous increase in her office of clenching and grinding. That's fear. That's worry. That's all anxiety. You know, as bad as the pandemic is, the news media has purposely made it worse. Here's a quote from Cryan in 2020. More may eventually die from the fear created around the virus than from the virus itself, because we know fear creates disease. I want you to watch for something. I think it's already started to happen. News anchors, real journalists, after years of experience, due to the conflict between what they've learned and what's happening, good journalism versus entertainment, are going to start quitting. They're going to start moving off or retiring or deciding they've stopped, because they are some of the first to realize that they're no longer journalists. Let me tell you what happened to me in Iceland. This is where it really started. I was in Iceland last February, and COVID broke out then. So I was out of the country. And I watched this happen. Many news outlets from around the planet presented in Iceland. And what I saw is our news media from the United States was presenting things. I was so disappointed. You know what really disappointed me? Again, as bad as the virus was, and it was on a rampage there, and we were all looking at it, and our news was only showing facts on infected and death. They had no column for recoveries. None at all. So the good part, if you could have any good part of this, was the fact that we were, even back then, at a 93% rate of recovery. But they never even showed that. There was no accurate information either. We found out later that our seniors were mostly at risk and that the others were not near as much. Let's protect our seniors. But it was presented back then by our news media as the plague. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. If you could go back and see those, and if they'd replay it, you'd see that. Again, there was no column for recovery. It was simply infection and death, and that's what you were shown. No impartiality that journalists are trained to have. Bottom line, it's still happening, folks. Now, here's my suggestion. If you want to get the news and you want to get it as best you can, go to the internet, select your favorite news outlet service on the internet, then read or see, they have videos, the articles that you select in the order that you select them. You select how you want to see it without the bias of a storyteller constructing a drama that plays in a certain sequence with carefully chosen pictures and sounds that goes right into your consciousness, whether you want it to or not. Here is the plea. Be in charge of how you get your news. And don't buy into an entire a scenario, a marketing, entertainment scenario that wants to scare you every day, basically for money. I hope this was okay with you. I am really still disappointed with our news media. I've said it before. I think they should be ashamed of themselves for frightening us at a time that's already frightening enough. I have love and compassion in my heart for all of you. Get the news. Get it right. Don't be fooled. Thank you.